Hello everyone, this is Debbie from Homestrung Jewelry. I'm here today with a tutorial that I've been sitting on for quite a while. It uses the half tilas and it's the herringbone pattern. It's a very standard type weave and design, but I did embellish it a bit more by adding the two side edges that have the bicones in it. What you see here is a version done in a blue silk half tila with blue opal bicones, a white silk half tila with a white opal bicone. The model I'll be making today in the video uses a pink silk half tila and a pink opal bicone. So the materials that you'll need to do this project is you're going to need, and this will make a 7-inch bracelet, you will need approximately 66 half tilas. And like I said, I'm using this brand, which is, they're Miyuki's, and this is called Silk Pale Light Pink. You will need 1 gram. You need just under 250 of a size 15 seed bead. And a gram, according to Miyuki, contains about 250 seed beads. You need about 240 for the bracelet, so you don't want a light gram. You want at least a full gram of the size 15. I'm using a metallic rose gold or a metallic copper here. You will need 64 crystal bicones, and what I'm using here are Preciosa's 4mm bicone crystals in a pink opal color. And you will need a clasp. And the clasp I'm using, I call these button clasps, even though it is actually what I call an embellishment. There is no shank on the back, but there are holes and spaces between the crystals, and that's how I use those holes to attach this embellishment to the bracelet, and it becomes the clasp that I'm using. Now the tools that you're going to need, and at least the ones I'm going to be using, is you'll need some type of a bead stopper. I'm just going to use one of these little bead bugs. You'll need a needle. I prefer big eye needles, so I'm going to be using one of those. You will need thread. The 6-pound fire line would work really well. I think you might be able to, no, I think the size 15 might be too small for the size 8 fire pound. But this Hercules thread that you've heard us mention before, I like it every bit as well as the fire line. It tends to be a little bit stronger, especially I can go up to an 8-pound size, and it is thinner than the 6-pound fire line. It's a thinner thread but stronger, so that's what I'm going to be using for the project today. It does, because it is so strong, it requires a special set of scissors really to cut it, and these we just picked up from a sporting goods store. You'll have to refer, maybe Steve will put a link to the other tutorial that we did that talks about the thread and the scissors on this. So that is the materials that you're going to need. Let me get set up with a length of thread. I'm going to pull off about 2 yards to start with, but you can use a length that is comfortable for you to work with, and I will be right back. Okay, I have pulled off about 2 yards of my thread. I have threaded my needle onto it and moved it down to the halfway point. I'm going to leave about a 6-inch length on the tails here, and that's where I'm going to position my little bead stopper. And you can use a stopper bead. If you do, go through it like maybe 1 or 2 times just to make sure it's nice and secure and doesn't slip on you. So about what you're wanting, the only thing you're going to use the end for here is to weave it in to your work. So if you can weave in your ends with less than 6 inches, just put in the length that you'll need to finish off your work and weave in the ends. Okay, to start this half herringbone weave, we're going to designate a few numbers here for the different beads. My size 15 beads, I call them A's. The bicones are B's, and the half tilas are HTs. This is just in case I forget to use the whole term for the bead that I'm picking up and I accidentally say you pick up one A or one B or one HT, you'll know what I mean. So we're going to start with picking up one of the size 15, putting it onto the needle, and one of the half tila beads. So here we have, I can bring it in here, get it to focus. So we have a size 15, a half tila. We're going to move those all the way down to our stopper bead. So here they are. Now we're going to pick up 3 size 15 or 3 A's. Just picked up those 3. See if I can get it to focus. I apologize, you guys. I'm not very good or experienced yet with doing these tutorials and using the camera, so bear with me. I'll get better if I keep doing it, I hope. Okay, after you pick up the 3 size 15 or the 3 half tilas, you want to needle back through the second hole of that half tila that you just picked up. So here I am needling back through the second hole. Pull your thread nice and tight so that it's locked up against your stopper bead right there. So here's what you should have. Now you want to pick up one size 15, one A, and one new half tila. We're going to move them down to the thread. This time what we're going to do is we are going to needle back through the very first size 15 that we picked up back here. It's going to be the one that's right next to your stopper bead. So you're going to needle through that and then pull your thread really, really tight. And what that's going to do is it should lock this second tila that we just picked up should now be perpendicular to the first tila. And that's the position that you want for that. And then we're going to do something that's called turn your work. So we take the whole work and we just flip it over that much. Now we're going to pick up 2 size 15 beads. See if I can bring it up here. 2 size 15 beads, and we're going to needle through the second hole of that second half tila that we picked up. Pull our thread through, pull it tight. Now if you notice, you now have what looks like 3 of those size 15 beads on there. Now we're going to pick up one more size 15, one A, and one new half tila. Bring them up and then needle through this single bead that you see here that was the one you picked up in the previous step. It was the first size 11 or size 15 that we picked up in the previous step. So you needle through it, pull your thread tight, and that's going to cause this tila bead now to lay perpendicular to the last one that we added. So this is the beginning of your herringbone pattern. And again, we turn the work. So I just flip it over. We're going to pick up 2 size 15s or 2 A's. If I can find where the camera is, there it is. And we'll needle through the second hole of that half tila that we just picked up, and we pull the thread Don't need our end threads in there. Okay, Then we're going to pick up just one size 15, 1A, one new tila. And there they are. And then we're looking for the single tila that was the first one, the single one that we added in the previous step, and we needle through it. We pull our work tight, and as long as you're keeping your work nice and tight, it should orient those tila beads so that they're going perpendicular. It is very important. I'm going to lay my work down and tighten it up. You start to get gaps like this if you aren't keeping it tight enough. So it's important that you keep this work really tight if you want the herringbone pattern to keep its shape for you. Okay, so here we are. I've tightened it up. I'm ready to turn my work. So we turn it over once. And then we're going to pick up two size 15s. We're going to come down through the second hole of that last tila that we picked up, and we're going to pull it nice and tight. Now we pick up one 15 and one new tila. We look for the single bead that was added in the previous step, and we needle through that single bead right there. And again, we pull it nice, keeping it nice and tight so that that new tila now lays perpendicular. As you can see, we now have 5 tilas on here, and we are creating our herringbone pattern. It's starting to move back and forth. So we turn it, we pick up two size 15s, come down through the second hole of the tila we just picked up, pull our thread through, pick up one new size 15, one new half tila, look for the single bead that we added in the previous step, and needle through that bead. And again, we pull the threads nice and tight. Make sure that they're keeping that pattern going. Turn the work. We'll do one more, and then we'll just have you continue these steps, the 2 that I'm showing you. We continue those until we have all of our half tilas on and we have the bracelet length that we're looking for. So one more time, we pick up 2 new size 15s. We come down through the second hole of the tila we just picked up. We pull our thread through. We pick up one new size 15, one new half tila. We look for the single bead that's sitting by itself from our previous step out here, and we needle through it. And we pull our thread nice and tight. I've got some, wonder if I've got a knot there. Nope, it's just nice and tight. Okay, pulling the thread nice and tight, whoops, pulls us back into alignment. Then we're ready to turn it and ready to repeat the 2 steps again for picking up more beads. So you just want to continue these 2 steps until you have, in the case of a 7-inch bracelet, you're going to have 66 half tilas on. This is going to give you a finished size of approximately 7 inches. So I will be back when I get close to having those, all but maybe the last 1 or 2 half tilas in place. Okay, I'm back. I'm down to the last 2 half tilas that need to be added to my bracelet, and I'm going to go ahead and add those, and then we're going to attach the clasp. So adding the last 2 Following those steps, we pick up 2 size 15 seed beads, go through the second hole of the half tila, pull our thread out, pick out 1 size 15 half tila and 1 new half tila. Move them down the thread, and then we move over and needle through the single size 15 from the previous step. Pull our thread through. This is where we want to make sure that the thread is nice and tight. We turn the work, kind of look at it, make sure we don't have any gaps. Okay, the last tila, we're going to start by picking up 2 size 15s. We're going to go down through the second hole of our half tila bead. Pull our thread nice and tight. We're going to pick up 1 size 15 and our last half tila. This is 66 half tilas for this size of bracelet. I'm looking for that single size 15 bead from the previous step, needling through it, pulling my thread all down, making it nice and tight. Okay, just added the last half tila. We're ready to add the clasp. To do that, I'm going to pick up 2 size 15s and go through the top hole of that last half tila I picked up and pull my thread through. Now I'm going to pick up 4 of the size 15 beads. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here's 4 size 15 beads. I'm going to move them down so they're right against this here. I'm going to have to lay this down to do the next part. I'm going to pick up the clasp. I'm going to orient it so that that big teardrop that I'm going to first come up through, I'm going to orient my embellishment or my button in this direction. So I'm going to orient by coming up through the space that's between the tila and the flower there. I don't know if you can see my needle through there. There we go. Okay, so I'm coming up with the space between that teardrop bead and that little flower. And I'm going to move the bead down against my 4 tilas that I just added. Now I am going to just needle over, or what you might call thread over, and go down through this space. It's the space between the teardrop and the little pink crystal bead. So I'm needling down through it. I'm going to pull the thread so that it lays between. See, you can't really even see the thread once you pull it nice and tight down there. Need to turn the button over so I can see the back side here. And I'm going to pick up 5 size 15 beads. 2, 3, 4. Spreading things out so I see just that first set of 4, and I'm going to needle down through it. I'm going to pull everything nice and tight. And then I'm going to pick up 4 more size 15 beads. 1, 2, 3, This time I'm going to come down through that single bead that we usually go through when we're adding more tilas, but this time we added a clasp instead of a tila. So I'm going down through that single bead that's associated with that last tila, pulling my thread nice and tight. Now I'm going to needle through this top hole of this tila bead right here. I'm going to go through the 3 size 15 beads that are right here, that more or less take up the edge of that half tila. Needle through those. Pull my thread through. Now I'm going through the next hole that would be in line with this. The next half tila, the next hole in the next half tila, pulling my thread through. I'm going to needle through the 3 beads that are on, let's see, I got a little loop there. The 3 beads, the 3 size 15 that are on this edge of the very last tila. Going through them. This is easier if you can lay it down on the pad, because then the bracelet doesn't get twisted up in your thread like mine just did. Okay, so we went down through those 3. Now I'm just going to go back through all the beads that we added to add the clasp so that I can reinforce the clasp. So I'm going through that end hole of that end tila. I'm going up through the first 4. The first 4 beads that I added there. Caught the end of my bracelet again. I'm going up through that space between the teardrop and the little flower. I'm rolling the thread over the space to where I can go down through the space that's between the teardrop and that pink crystal. Same space we went down through before. And then turn it to the back, come down through the 5, and then the top one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, come down through those 5, and then down through the top one, and then the the 4 that are on the other side. I think I need magnifiers. Okay, so that's the top one. And then the 4 I added to anchor it to this other bead. And I'm going through the tila again just because my needle was in position to do it. So I just needled through this end tila again. Okay, so now we're in position to start adding the bicones that are put up on the sides of this. And to do that, I come through the very first size 11 of the set of 3. Okay, so I'm coming through that. I'm going to pick up one of the bicones, pick up a bicone. I'm going to come over and through the top, the first of the size 15 seed beads in that next set. Pull my threads tight. See how that anchors just right into that space? Pick up the next seed bead, or it's not seed bead, pick up the next bicone, come up, find the next bead that's on this side, needle through it, and pull the bicone into place. Pick up another bicone, go to the end, size 15 bead, needle through it, and pull the bicone into place. We now have 3 bicones on this side. You're just going to go all the way down till we get to the bottom tila, and then we're going to make the loop that goes around the clasp here. So I'll be back as soon as I've added all of the bicones on this side of the bracelet. Okay, I'm back. I have added 31 of the bicone crystals down the side of the bracelet. I need to add one more before we make the loop on the clasp. So I'm picking up the bicone, I'm going up through the very end of the size 15 beads, pulling this down nice and tight till I've got my last crystal in place. Now to make the loop, I'm going to needle through the next 2 of those size 15 beads so that I'm right here on them, and then I'm going to pick up 30 of the size 15 beads to make the loop. That's 10. There's 10 more for a total of 20 so far. And the last 10, so there's my 30 that I've picked up by moving them all down to the end of the bead here. And then I'm just going to circle around and go down through the 3 size 15s that are on this side of the bracelet here at the end of this other side of the bracelet. Pull my thread through, and that gives me this size of a loop, which, because I've already done 2 other models, I figured out that's how many beads I need to go around that clasp. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way back up so that I can go through all those beads again to reinforce. So to do that, I'm coming through the end hole of that half tila. I'm going up through the end hole of this half tila. I'm going up through the end hole of the very, very end half tila. Okay, and that's putting my needle back to the position it was when I picked up the 30 beads. So I go through the 3 end ones that are anchored on that last half tila. If I can needle through those. 1, 2, 3. And it looks like I've got through the 3 and 2 that are part of the loop. So I just need to make sure that I get through the 3 end beads and through all 30 of the beads that I added into that loop. Then I will need to come through the 3 size 15s that are edged along that half tila. I can get through those 2. Then it looks like I'm going to have to go through 1 by itself. Okay. So I got through those. Now I'm in position to add the bicones down the other side of the bracelet. I'm coming out of an end tila, or an end size 15, going to pick up the bicone, look for the next end size 15, and pull that bicone into place. Pick up another bicone, look for the end of the size 15 beads, pull the bicone into place. Pick up another bicone, look for the end, size 15 seed bead, pull the bicone into place. And that's how we're going to finish coming down this side of the bracelet so that it has bicones that match the other side. And then when you get to the end, it's just a matter of finishing off your thread. Your bracelet is done. I'll be back when I get to that point. Here I am back with the finished model. I just finished up the pink silk version. Here's the white version I showed you earlier, and I've put the blue version on. I like to wear it with the clasp on the upside because it's such a pretty clasp. I think it really adds to the sparkle and bling part of the bracelet here. So these bracelets, I do have kits for them. They're on the website. We put a nice little discount on them for a limited time. You get everything you see here that was needed except for needle and thread. You use the needle and thread that you prefer to use. There's enough in the kit to make a 7-inch bracelet. If you need to make a longer bracelet, please email me and I will make sure that we have enough beads to take care of what it is that you need to do. So this is Debbie. I thank you for being here. If you liked my video, please click the little like button. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. And if you click the notifications, you will get a notice each time we add another tutorial or an unboxing or auctions or just all the other fun stuff that we do on this channel. This is Debbie saying goodbye and saying thank you for being here and putting up with me. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.